I can provide you a sheet with all the laws, all X laws available or applicable to all the companies, and we can have a like each based on the manufacturing or service or maybe the type of the company, we can actually, you can understand by that. There is Motor Vehicles Act. If you have company vehicles moving in and out, and the Motor Vehicles Act is applicable for your personal vehicles as well. Motor Vehicles Act is applicable for all the entities, irrespective of small startup with 2 people or maybe 200 people who are manufacturing. Because Motor Vehicle Act, what it says, it need to have a
license,
registration, fitment to run, pollution certificate, and the drivers using those vehicles, driver's license and a helmet. Helmet is not mandatory by the act, but helmet should be mandatory by you, by the company. So these need to be taken care. Like that, like there are certain laws, like Wages Act is applicable for everyone, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the service, irrespective of the size of the organization, but more than 7, or take it as 10 and more people. So you have this act, and even Motor Vehicles Act is something like a personal safety aspect to all the people in the organization.
Not mandated why transport are charging fines.
It is mandatory in some states or some cities. Like Motor Vehicles Act or insurance, or maybe we are talking about some other laws like Partnership Act, or maybe the one recently disputed act in AP, the Land Acquisition Act or whatever, Land Titling Act. All these are acts by Parliament, by the Government of India. They'll propose a draft. Certain acts they'll issue the final act, which need to be followed by all, irrespective of the state, irrespective of the religion, caste, or maybe person. So other acts they give it to the state to implement. So enforcement authority is given to the states. They can make some adjustments based on the terrain, based on the conditions, based on the people, based on the requirements. They can make some changes, which actually led to the dispute between the sections. Like we don't know whether it is true or not, what the oppositions told before the elections, but by the information that we know through media, it is a bit more changed or more amended rather required. So regulatory compliance, again, compliance requirements, again we know income tax, licenses mainly, and if it is a company related to ROC, these are the compliance. And professional advice, like to see any complex matter that the startup is dealing with. I'll take an example of battery manufacturing, or maybe something related to energy usage optimization in an EV. That means like we are building a controller or a software which works for a controller for an EV. If you take as an example of a startup, then there one is if it is a software, that software security aspect, where the data is protected mainly, because after we give this application, it is not in our hands. Like it works on their hardware, but software is ours, or maybe the firmware is ours along with software. But there could be a tweet, or maybe someone like the act we are talking in AP. So the people in the company, or maybe based on their requirements, they may further amend it or maybe change it. So at that point in time, if it is communicating the data outside, and if it goes into somewhere else, and that compliance issue will come to us, we need to have an agreement with our customer, saying like, this is our scope, this is your scope, and this is our recommendations, and beyond these recommendations, anything is changed in the usage, it's not our responsibility. So that documentation need to be there. It can be product, service, software, a part of the product, anything. So documentation along with the product to the customer is very important for a startup, because like startups cannot afford legal complications or claims mainly. And the major licenses I listed here, like GST registration if the entity, any entity, it can be startup or it can be regular business, regular trading business. So any entity, GST is mandatory if in a financial year, if the turnover crosses 20 lakhs. That means until 20 lakhs, you will be considered as a micro entity. So there is no obligation to you to charge GST. To help the minor micro entities, it's in bracket or maybe given to the small entities. So after 20 lakhs, so in maybe certain states we have 40 lakhs. Maybe we are expecting something like this in AP now. So even for not 40 lakhs, they are asking for 1 crore. Until 1 crore in an entity, any entity, not only startups, any entity starting a business, no obligation of collecting a GST, or at least a reverse mechanism of GST. Means if they are selling a packaged product or service, then without GST we won't charge. I mean the company no need to charge. And if the company is providing a service or product to another entity, which is a bigger entity, which has to charge GST to others, they are like they charge, they pay the reverse GST. Means in our invoice we won't reflect the GST. That means like we won't have any obligation of paying GST, but they have to pay. They themselves have to pay along with their GST collections. They have to pay the GST as well, or set off in their input. Like advocates has this. We normally no need to charge GST. As per GST, if the firm is registered with Bar Council, State Bar Council, and it is like listed as legal services firm, then there is no need, like we don't have an obligation to collect GST, but the customer has to pay. Individual customer no need to pay, but if the customer is, for example, works in university, they are availing our services, and we are billing him, for example, billing the entity 1 lakh rupees every month. We won't reflect the GST component in our invoice, because we are given that flexibility. Either you charge or not charge, but you have to mention your invoice like this fees is applicable for GST 18%, and it is on reverse charge mechanism. That means the institution, after paying our bill, they have to pay GST also. It's their headache. The obligation is transferred 18,000 to the GST.
That will be differ in the case of industry to industry.
Only for legal professionals we have as of now here, but all other institutions are based on the product and service. There are rates, right? For food services it is 5%, and for most of the products it is 18%. For clothing and food services it is 5%. And for any import products like maybe an iPhone or something like that, it is 28%, including the CGST. I mean not CGST, we call like central sales tax. Including central sales tax, the GST plus central sales tax is 28%. So a trade license is mandatory for everyone, and a food license is mandatory for people dealing with manufacturing of food or handling of food or trading of food also. For example, I'm Licious, or maybe I'm someone tender cuts or someone. So I take my raw material, which is raw meat, from farms, from a farmer. So there is no tax obligation for him, or there is no food license obligation for him. He will supply me live stock, and I'll process and I'll deliver. Again, I may be having partners in processing, means Ram Reddy Chicken or someone is my partner, so he is processing, not me. I'm only delivering. Example, Licious does this way. Licious has Ram Reddy as a partner. The raw stock is maybe Ram Reddy also has farms. He supplies the raw material and processes it as well. And I'll deliver. Again, I won't deliver. I will have partner. Delivery is my partner. Means Licious is the platform. I am selling meat to you. I am not showing like I'm procuring it from Ram Reddy. I am not showing I am delivering using delivery. Right? Licious, you are buying me from me means you are buying. I am selling meat to you. I am delivering it to you. So Licious need to have a food license. Ram Reddy Farms need to have a food license. Ram Reddy Farms processing this meat unit, a separate setup, need to have a food license. Delivery has to have a food license.
Delivery also there?
Yes. So they are handling the food, so they need to have a food license. The type of registration is different. The processing.
Sellers doesn't need pollution control board permission. Right?
Sellers doesn't need pollution control board. What are you selling?
It's a meat shop. They don't need it.
That is again internal compliance. Motor Vehicle Act is not a license. Motor Vehicle Act is a compliance you need to follow. Because something happens, for example, your vehicle is not pollution fit, it's not running fit, it doesn't have a registration, the driver has no driving license and he is not wearing a helmet, then in that scenario, but vehicle is yours. Yours means it can be on your company's name or been used by you, by the company.
If seller is different one and manufacturer is different.
Their delivery company is there, right? That person's compliance. Licious, no need of having compliance for this delivery boy's vehicle. But he has again his own obligation. Whatever vehicles he is using, then he has to see the compliance.
But manufacturers.
It's an internal compliance. Motor Vehicle Act, certain acts are Battery Acts, Electricity Act, Motor Vehicles Act. These are the certain acts which is mandatory for everyone, for compliance, seeing compliance within your organization. For safety, for assuring safety to public. It's for your safety, for your employees' safety, as well public safety.
Yeah, the manufacturer should also take the pollution control board license. Because
They are internal compliance.
Yeah,
Ram Reddy is supplying chicken from his farms. For his vehicle, he has to see everything is there.
apart from that,
No one comes from Motor Vehicles Act. There is no department also. It's an act saying like these are the things need to be followed for everyone's safety related to motor vehicles. Related to batteries, you should not dump your used battery in regular trash.
E-waste certificate.
No, if you are handling batteries, selling of batteries, you are giving new battery and taking the old battery, then it is something like you need to have an MOU with Ramki or someone who will handle the e-waste. You have to only give it to him. You should not dump it. But personally, as a startup, you are using an inverter for your company, for your operations. Even at our home also we use inverters, right? Yeah. So even home owner, if I am the owner of the home, I need to know the Electricity or Batteries Act, and I should not dump in regular waste. I have to give it to a recycling person, or maybe where I am buying to him. Batteries need to be given for recycling. So that says, like the act says that. So these are the personal acts or maybe compliance acts for every company, so which we need to consider. For that reason only we need to have a register, at least to have awareness to everyone. Because like after this session maybe you come to know, but if you are not transferring this to others in the organization, they may not know. They just take out the AA batteries from the remote, from this remote, and they'll throw it like that. It's okay because it's negligible. No one comes and catches you. But even this comes under that. And MSME registration is in status of the entity. It's not a license again. The others are GST is not a license. It's again your obligation by the government to collect tax. Trade license is again, it's a license. The license itself says, all the licenses, they'll be referred as licenses. That is, by face of it you can see. Trade license is a mandatory license, means for manufacturing. If not trade license, it is labor license for other entities. And food license is a mandatory license. I gave you best example. MSME registration, again, it's not a license. It's the status of the company, so that like we can avail, the entity can avail certain benefits under each category. And Pollution Control Board license is a license. So if you are having a generator, maybe the DG for your office, you are obliged to have that Pollution Control Board license for the output of the generator. Output means the smoke output. We'll call it a stack. And Shops and Establishment Act, we talked about trade license. Trade license is also mandatory, and Shops and Establishment Act is also mandatory for manufacturing. For services and maybe dealing with, not like you are getting manufactured, but your company, though the inventory is your company, you are getting it manufactured by someone else, there is no obligation for you to have a trade license. The other person who is your partner manufacturing for you need to have a trade license. You need to have compliance on their legal compliance as well. At least you need to ask for a copy of their legal compliance. Why? To ensure the continuity of the product. For example, they are not having trade license, they are not having Pollution Control Board clearance, but you gave him to manufacture a battery or something, or maybe a battery pack, which is your core business, your startup's business. And you are ordering 1,000 pieces every month because you just started now, and he is happily giving because that number is nothing to him. He'll manufacture 10,000 every day, and this is 1,000 a month is nothing for him. For example, he is not having a good compliance, or the compliance officer at his organization is sleeping, and the Pollution Control Board conducts a raid, and until the license is renewed or maybe restored, if the operations are stopped, and your purchase order is laying on his table, which is sent yesterday, gone. Our case is gone. So we cannot control bigger players, but still, like, you can transfer certain knowledge from you, saying like, to ensure the quality or to ensure the continuity, you can have an agreement in place with a clause of damages. If he is not fulfilling your requirement, because you are a small entity and you are relying on him, and if you don't have this clause strictly, and if he delays for this reason, for example, he delays 2 months, your operations are gone. You cannot sell your product, and you should sit idle for 45 days. So for that reason, you need to have this knowledge been transferred through your agreements. Yeah, these are the agreements like vendor contracts and partnership agreements, customer agreements, and employee contracts. So these are the 4 types like which any organization will need, and you need to have a detailed understanding of what exactly what are all the formats or what are all the contracts, agreements need to be in place for your particular purpose. Employee contracts, and along with purchase order, your purchase order need to have certain terms and conditions related to what we are actually talking about, the continuity, about the quality, and if not, like what is the demurrage clause, and whether need to settle with an arbitration clause or not, and any termination requirement, like for example 6 days, 7 days, or maybe 15 days from both the parties. And if it is an abrupt termination from them, telling like hike the cost, or maybe hiking the cost, or maybe stopping the supply, then in that case, like what is the demurrage that you can claim? All these things, like you can get it signed on proper stamp duty, maybe getting it registered as well with a small expenditure, though it is a small